these games still count in April, right? They still count towards the 162. They're still important. And these are the games that if you drop them now, you look back on them in September when it's a 2-game lead of what the heck happened here. And
you are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Brian McKeon. Thank you for making us your first listen. Stacy is currently on the IL. She'll be back with us tomorrow. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. I'm here today on Instagram at _Brian McKeon, or wherever you can find me on your socials, to discuss the Yankees. They beat the Royals 4-2. In Game 2 of the series, behind an ace-like performance out of Max Fried once again. He's now 3-0 with an unbelievable ERA. He's had an unbelievable season so far. He's been everything you could expect out of him. 6 2/3, 5 hits, 2 earned, 7 Ks. Kept you in the ball game until the Yankees had the opportunity late in this game to pull away, take a lead with the bases loaded. And it all comes from a specific player that hasn't really been noticeable so far this year, not from a bad perspective or from a particularly good perspective, right? He's been there. He's played well at times. He's played average. But Jason Dominguez is a player that you haven't particularly noticed in a good or bad way yet. And it's only 2 weeks into the season, so you're not going to overreact on either end when it comes to how well he's played or how poorly he's played. But Jason Dominguez, over the last 2 games of this series in particular, has heated up a lot and has really started to show flashes, both in the field and at the plate, particularly at the plate. Let's talk about this game first, Game 2 of this series against the Royals, against Michael Wacha. There was a point made by Kay and O'Neill during the broadcast that I thought was a really good point. When Wacha was going up against some of the Yankees' younger players in the lineup, Wacha does have a higher ERA, but also does have a lot of experience. He's a veteran pitcher. Oftentimes, younger players will struggle with guys like that. And they wound up bringing in the bullpen. Their bullpen pitcher cannot find the zone. And Jason Dominguez took advantage of it, right? Opened up the hips, got the arms around, and drove the ball right down the left field line to be able to clear the bases. Honestly, a double in that spot with the bases loaded to clear the bases, driving all 3 runs, give the Yankees 4 runs. That was all she wrote. That ended the game pretty much. And if you look at it from a Yankee perspective, those are the kind of big hits that you're going to need, especially behind performances like Max Fried. You get a performance from Max Fried like this tonight or last night, that changes an entire outcome of the season, wins and losses in those circumstances. It's too early to call anything at this point, but those are the kind of games that bad teams lose. They are. Those are the kind of games that bad teams with aces lose, where your ace gives you a great performance and gives you 7 innings nearly and is great, and you can't hold on to it, or you can't drive runners in a scoring position, or you can't do the necessary things that are there to win this game. And the Yankees wound up winning this game. You load the bases, you're patient at the plate. Dominguez drives the runs in, and your bullpen closes it out. Luke Weaver was tremendous coming in the end of the 7th inning into the 8th. And then Devin Williams, every performance Devin Williams gives you, he looks better and better and better, and he looks more comfortable, which is key. We mentioned this yesterday on yesterday's show, me and Stacy. It might just be a matter of time for Devin Williams, where he started off the season a little bit slow, but the more and more he warms up, the more and more his pitches start to feel more comfortable, and the more and more, by the way, the weather warms up, Devin Williams will get more comfortable out there, and he'll return to the Devin Williams of old. If you watch the game against Kansas City in Game 2, he looked unbelievable. He was unhittable. That's the kind of stuff that you're going to need. It really is. And these are performances that, again, good teams win these games. Bad teams lose these games. And the Yankees showed you that, these games still count in April, right? They still count towards the 162. They're still important. And these are the games that if you drop them now, you look back on them in September when it's a 2-game lead of what the heck happened here. And we're going to discuss it on tomorrow's show. But the American League East no one's running away with it right now. It's a very close division right now, and the Yankees are going to need these games. This division may well come down to 1 or 2 games, and the Yankees currently find themselves in first place in the division at the moment, but you don't know where you're going to sit in a few months from now, and these are the important games that you need to win. So you get a great performance in a Max Fried. Dominguez has an unbelievable hit. I do want to discuss this because I know people are going to bring it up because of my disapproval of the way that Aaron Boone has handled Jason Dominguez, and it has bothered me taking him out late in games. That wasn't the case in this game. Now, this is a little bit of a double fold kind of thing, right? Late in this game, Dominguez is the big hit in the bottom of the 7th inning, and Aaron Boone pulls him. And it does feel like he got pulled so the Yankees could shore up their fielding. You see Trent Grisham wind up in the game in center field. Cody Bellinger moves over to left. And you're automatically thinking to yourself, I'm sorry, Dominguez's hit was in the bottom of the 6th. I just wanted to confirm that. You immediately think to yourself, are they pulling Dominguez because of fielding purposes here? And is this really happening again? And I've made the point constantly that this is a young player. This is a young player who, if we're going to be so fragile with Marcus Stroman's emotions because we don't want him to go off the rails, then you got to certainly treat a young guy in his 20s that way, who's trying to make his way on the team and trying to prove to you that he can play the field. And pulling him out of games at this point, not the best look. And it's not the best look for his confidence. And it's not going to help his confidence at all. So to me, it's important to leave Dominguez in late in these games. Let him make his mistakes late in games and let him learn how to play late in games. Because Kay brought up a great point. You're removing Dominguez at that point in the game, sure. But it's also a 2-run game. And if the Yankees find a way to blow that game and it becomes a 4-4 game, what happens when Dominguez's spot in the lineup comes back again? And you're going to want a guy that's 3 for 3 in the game to get another at-bat, who now you're taking that away from. And I know Trent Grisham has been really good this year so far. He's not Jason Dominguez at the plate. We know that. Especially with the way Dominguez is hitting last night and the night before. So it was revealed after the game, Aaron Boone did say to the media that Dominguez came out of the game because he lost a contact lens. Apparently it was on the swing when he followed through. If you watch the highlight closely, he does hit his own head. That could have a lot to do with it. Okay, I'll entertain that. I'll play along, as the kids would say. I don't mind that, him coming out for that reason, but it still holds the point. If the reason is defensively, can't be happening. You can't be removing guys from games in April. As much as I did say that these games still count as the 162 and they're going to matter late in September, and I do stand by that. These are also the games that you can afford to make more mistakes than a game in October. And you're going to want to have Jason Dominguez in this game in October. You are. So I don't love the idea of pulling him in these games. I don't. You preserve the bullpen like you really wanted to out of the start from Max Fried. This was as ideal of a second game of this series as you could have had, right? Because we looked at this series coming in and we were like, game 1 could be kind of a toss-up. Game 2 is the game you're going to need to have with Fried on the mound. And then game 3, no one knows with how good Bubic has been. He's going to be really tough to beat with his ERA below 1 currently. And you're getting Clark Schmidt's first game of the season. Could be a tough spot to follow. So, again, this was an important win. And this is the kind of win that the Yankees are going to have to show all year, that you're going to have to win these kind of games, because there's going to be times when you're not going to score 20 runs, right? You're not going to hit 9 home runs in a game all the time. The torpedo bats are not going to come to save you 24/7. You're going to need these games, and it's going to be behind really good starting pitching. Sometimes you're going to have to scrap by runs. You saw in game 1 of the series, right, with 4 solo home runs. You're going to have to win games that way. You are. You're going to have to win games behind really good bullpen pitching. So far, you've had that, and the bullpen hasn't really burnt out yet. So far, from the guys that you've needed good starting pitching out of, you've got it. That's why we've referenced that Clark Schmidt. It's unbelievably important for Clark Schmidt to be the ace-type pitcher that he can be going forward, because they're going to need as much starting pitching help as humanly possible. So, again, Yankees are now 4-0 in Max Fried starts. Weaver and Williams were absolutely great at the end of this game. They got everything they needed out of this team, and Jason Dominguez was unbelievable for the second straight night, looking more and more comfortable at the plate, looking better and better. I just want to see him get opportunities to play in the field late in games, and I think he deserves it, and he's only going to get better by doing that. It's only going to hurt his confidence more by not leaving him in these games. Again, they said it was because of the contacts last night, and I'll buy it for now. That's the first time that has been used, and we don't know if Dominguez would have necessarily stayed in the game if the contact stayed in either, because everything that's been shown so far this year, Boone has pulled him in these situations. So let's see how it plays out. But overall, great performance. That bases clearing double was absolutely massive for Jason Dominguez for the Yankees as they got a 4-2 win in the second game of the series against the Kansas City Royals. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, and hit the notifications so that you know when our videos are going to go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. That link is in our description, and you'll get texts from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to trades, and signing. We set up the lineups every single day during the season. You get roster moves, breaking news, so you have no need to check social media. There's also a 14-day free trial for any of you guys out there. Coming up, there's a guy out there. He was on the back page of the New York Post, and apparently he misses being a Yankee very much. We'll discuss it on the other side. Baseball season is currently in full swing, guys, and there's no better way to get in on the action than there is with PrizePicks. It's the best place to get all of your daily fantasy sports needs. And with PrizePicks, you can pick more or less on at least 2 player stat projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. And whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, PrizePicks keeps every game exciting. You can build your lineup. And this week, I'm picking Aaron Judge for more than 1 home run because, it's been a while since Aaron Judge has homered, so I like him in that stat too. Plus, Shohei Ohtani for more than 1 stolen base. He seems to be good for that a lot this year, and it's that easy. All you do is set up a lineup. It takes less than 60 seconds, and when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. PrizePicks has exclusive promos. I always take advantage of the Taco Tuesday promo personally. It's where PrizePicks offers discounts on select player projections and for even more of the value. So here's what you're going to do. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. Remember that every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions underneath the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday, or you can join that Locked On Yankees Insiders Club to get top priority during Fan Mail Friday. The link is in our description. And guys, it was news later on the day, and I just want to bring this up too because I have to do this as the segment intros. This was the back page of the New York Post early on today. Because Mike Puma, who interviewed Juan Soto after the Mets beat the Twins about Soto's struggles and how he hasn't necessarily had the most prolific start to this season so far, flat out asked Juan Soto about what's going on. And Soto's comments, not great. Because Soto responded to Puma with, it was a lot easier hitting last year when you were protected by, quote, the best hitter in baseball behind you in the lineup. Now, there's a lot of angles to this that I can go with, right? But if you're a Met fan, how does this make you feel? If you're out there rooting for the Mets, how does this make you feel? That the guy that came over, signed this massive contract to be the guy and the man in Queens, right? That was the whole thing. He wanted to be the man wherever he went. Well, he got that, and now he's not comfortable, and baseball's not as easy when he's not hitting in front of Aaron Judge. Well, first of all, no damn, right? I mean, it didn't take Albert Einstein to figure that one out. It's a lot harder to play baseball when you're not hitting in front of Aaron Judge. I mean, there's one other guy in baseball right now that can give you as much protection as Aaron Judge, and that's Shohei Ohtani. That's literally it. There is literally nobody else that can give you that much protection. But making these comments 2 weeks into the season when he's now got 2 straight home runs 2 straight games where he's homered. But still, these are not comments as a Mets fan that you want to hear. They're not. It seems like he is missing the Bronx a lot more than you'd like him to miss in the Bronx. And these aren't comments that you want to be hearing. And also too, if you're Pete Alonso has gotten off to a tremendous start this season. He's been as good as Aaron Judge. How does that feel when Juan Soto's making those comments about Pete Alonso? Because that's obviously who it's referencing, right? Obviously, he misses hitting behind Aaron Judge. I'll say this from a Yankee perspective, because again, if you're a Met fan, I don't know how you're happy about this. If you're Steve Cohen, I don't know how you're happy about this. It's like, hey, I just gave you $750 million. Shut up and play baseball. I mean, that's really the way you got to feel about it if you're Steve Cohen. But as a Yankee fan, as a Yankee talk show host, let me give it to you straight this way. You turned the money down, Juan. The Yankees offered you just as close to that deal. It was one extra year for just about the same amount of money. They were still going to make you generationally wealthy. They were still going to give you $750 million. You were still going to sign the highest overall contract in the history of sports. Those were all going to be true if you stayed with the Yankees. You would have still had Aaron Judge behind you for the next 7 years contractually. I don't want to hear it. And no one wants to hear it. This is what you chose. You chose to go play in Queens. And the amount of references and comments he's made about the Yankees since signing with the Mets is so pathetic on his part, and clearly it's still on his mind. You made this decision. This was your decision to make. No one's going to feel bad for you when you sign a contract for $760-something million. No one cares. Honestly, he stated that he thinks that the Yankees have a decent chance of winning in the next, 6 to 7 years, but after that, he doesn't know because of their future. And coincidentally, that coincides with the remainder of Aaron Judge's contract. That's all good and well. I get it. That's fine. If he thinks he has a better chance to win the Mets, that's fine. And again, we discussed this ad nauseum on Locked On Yankees, but it's the truth. Juan Soto gave Mets fans all of the birthday cake and presents and pomp and circumstance they could have possibly wanted going forward, right? He told them it's the best chance to win. The fans are more passionate. He gave you every excuse possible, and we've continued to sit here and tell you, like most, logical Mets fans would tell you also, Juan Soto went to the Mets for one reason and one reason only. The Mets gave him the largest contract. And he probably should have thought of other things that he didn't consider. He wanted to go to the highest bidder, and that's fine. And that's a thought that, his agent, Scott Boras, probably put in his head, and that's what he does to a lot of his clients. I'm not arguing that. I'm not going to sit here and complain about that. I get it. I'm not mad about the Yankees' offer. The Yankees gave a very substantial offer. They gave him a ton of money, and he chose the one that was a couple $1 million more. Not going to begrudge him for that. And no Mets fan should sit here and apologize for that. But if you're a player at this point in the contract, you're, 15 days into the contract, and you're already complaining, while the guy behind you is actually playing great baseball in Pete Alonso. You can't be sitting here complaining about it. You just can't. And it can't become a thing where you're still referencing last year with the Yankees. He had a great year, absolutely. And I don't think anyone expects him to put up those power numbers that he did last year with the Mets. But it's one of those things you can't keep complaining about not being the Yankee anymore. This was your decision. And, Yankee fans don't want to hear it. Yankee fans would have loved you. They would have. And he more than likely would have been in Monument Park. He more than likely would have been praised the rest of his career. He more than likely would have went into the Hall of Fame as a New York Yankee. More than likely would have won a world championship at some point. He chose to take the largest offer. Not going to begrudge him for that. At the same point, don't sit here and complain. Don't sit here and complain that Aaron Judge isn't batting behind you anymore. Yeah, that's what happened. And you chose that. That was your decision to make. You wanted to be the man. Well, guess what? Part of being the man on the Mets is being the guy that no one wants to see at the plate, is being the best hitter on the team. You have to go be the Aaron Judge of this squad. That's how it works now, Juan. You made that decision. This is your bed. You have to lie in it now. You can't sit here and make comments about not hitting behind the best player in baseball. And it's not just that comment, by the way. There's been multiple comments he's made about the Yankees and the Yankees aren't making comments about him. The Yankees don't care. If you saw Aaron Judge's quote, he basically said he doesn't care. He'll comment on it once. He said that Pete Alonso had an unbelievable season, and Aaron Judge complimented Pete Alonso in the most Aaron Judge fashion ever because that's how he handles things. But everything was complimented on Aaron Judge's part, and he doesn't care. He's moved on. He likes the position that they're in now. Juan Soto doing this doesn't help his future with the Mets. If I'm Steve Cohen, I approach Juan Soto and say, hey, let's have a meeting in your suite and let's stop making these comments. This proves to me it wasn't about the suite. It wasn't about the family atmosphere. It wasn't about Steve Cohen and Alex Cohen and the charitable. None of that had anything to do with anything. It was the money. And now he sort of regrets that. And maybe this was Boris putting in his head that, nope, you got to sign the highest deal possible. Maybe that was it. And if it is, and Juan went ahead and signed that deal, then shame on you. You shouldn't have signed that deal. Especially when the Yankee offer was very comparable to Met offer. Don't sit here and complain now, though, because no one's going to give you sympathy, and absolutely no one wants to hear the complaints. Not Yankee fans, not Met fans, no one. And talk about the little brother complex. If I can mention lastly, we had to sit here the entire time and hear Mets fans talk about how they're now big brother. They're now the big brother in New York. No more little brother, all that, right? Because they got Juan Soto. It's really little brother when the player that you just signed for that money, it's still talking about the ex-girlfriend. Hey, dude, you left her. You broke up with her. Don't complain that the new girl isn't as good as the old girl. You had the old girl. You left her. Maybe it's a bad move. Maybe he regrets it. I'm sure it's a lot easier to regret it with $760 million in your pocket, but I digress. This is Juan Soto's move. It was his career move. If he thinks it's a mistake, that's unfortunate, but he made the mistake and he's got to live with it now. It's just how it works. Coming up, we're going to talk about the finale of the series against the Kansas City Royals. Game 3, really tough pitching matchup, but an interesting storyline. We're going to get into all that on the other side. Guys, there's nothing better than catching in a Major League Baseball game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the smell of the ballpark food, and you get a lot of that at Yankee Stadium this year with all the new additions. And if you're looking to go last minute, Gametime has made getting tickets to games even easier than ever. With last-minute ticket deals, all-in pricing, and the lowest price guaranteed, Gametime takes all the stress out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as the game times get closer, meaning you can score incredible deals all season long. And Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On. If I were to head to the game tomorrow night, the finale of the series against the Royals, I can count on them to grab tickets at the absolute last second, and they'll meet all of my needs. The Gametime Picks feature also makes finding the best deals effortless. It filters out all the fluff, and it highlights the top discounts available in the stadium. And I love that I can preview my exact seat before purchasing. There's no bad surprises when I get to the stadium. To take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Not only do we cover your team every day, but now we're giving you instant episodes after every single game. You can check out the Locked On Yankees postcast. It's hosted by Jay Berman right here on the Locked On Yankees podcast feed. Get rapid reaction to all the biggest moments with the Locked On Yankees postcast. So game 3 of this series will happen later on tonight, 7:05 at the stadium. It'll be a Prime Video game, so make sure you've got your Amazon set up ready to go. It'll be Chris Bubic, 2-1 with a .96 ERA. He's obviously been terrific this year. It's going to be a tough game against the Yankees. The Yankees, it's funny, last year, me and Stacey had this thing where we would constantly talk about guys with middling ERAs because those were the guys the Yankees struggled against, right? It wasn't the elite pitchers. They were able to hit them, surprisingly. It was the middling ERA of like 5 to 3.5. That's where they really struggled. You look forward and look at the Yankees this year, and it's all about struggling with guys with low ERAs, which most teams struggle against. That's why the ERAs are so low. But the Yankees have had a lot of problems with ace-type pitchers this year. They got dominated by Flaherty in that game, if you remember. The whole Detroit series is really a problem for them. They've had trouble with guys, and I can't expect Bubic to not be amazing against them. Again, 2-1 with a .96 ERA. His past starts this year have been quite frankly, amazing. He's had an unbelievable year so far. A .96 whip as well. This is all in 18.2 innings pitched. Only giving up 13 hits, 21 strikeouts in 18 innings, which is incredible. 5 walks, only giving up 1 home run, which is a dangerous stat for the Yankees because they live and die by the home run ball more often than not. Not an easy thing for them. It's going to be Clark Schmidt's season debut, and that's a really important thing because of the way that he pitched in the minor leagues. We went over this a lot, but the Yankees have had a major problem with starting pitching so far. Marcus Stroman has not been what they've needed, certainly at all. They've had trouble. Will Warren, I think, is what he is at the back end of this rotation, which is not bad, but he's going to be a 5-inning, 3 runs. He'll keep you in games more often than not, but he's not an ace that you can lean on. Clarke Schmidt, over the last 2 years, has shown you that you can lean on him, has been that good for them. He really has. And coming into the year, you kind of thought if they don't have him for an extended period of time, it's gonna worry them a little bit. Now that they're getting him back after the Stroman injury, this is the time for Clarke Schmidt, right? This is the time to be able to show that you are a guy that the Yankees can lean on, can trust, can gain a little more trust in big situations. They've been dealt a bad set of cards this year when it comes to their starting rotation, right? You start the year with Garrett Cole being hurt, Marcus Stroman and all the drama behind that. Carlos Rodon has not been Carlos Rodon yet this year, right? It seems like every little thing he's been bothered by hasn't really been able to be consistent so far this year. His numbers aren't terrific. I'm still a believer that Carlos Rodon will figure things out. But the only consistent, really good pitcher that you've had so far has been Max Fried. And he's been everything as advertised. He's been great. He's pitched certainly to the contract, no doubt about that. Clarke Schmidt can be that other guy. If he can give you what he's given you over the last few years, that is absolutely clutch for the Yankees. It's exactly what they're asking for. It's exactly what they're going to need. And, this is a start where you can prove that. This is a very tight American League East so far. No one's run away with it. No one's been great. That's why these wins are big for the Yankees at this point in the season. You're going to need them at this point, right? And again, they're 10-7. Toronto's 10-8. The Orioles are 6-10. So no one's fallen out of it. No one's run away with it. And I don't think anyone's going to run away with it all year, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be like this all year. Having a pitcher like Clarke Schmidt in your rotation that's going to be able to perform the way that he's capable of is huge. This start is huge, especially the way he looked in the minor leagues in his rehab appearances. He's geared up to go. They're geared up to get him back. It's going to be an important start for him. He's going to be an important pitcher for them. This is super key. And I can't stress it enough because what he means to this team with the Garrett Cole injury, unbelievable. What the bullpen's going to mean. Clarke Schmidt likely in this game is going to be on like a 70-pitch count. I think in the last AA start that he had about 62 pitches. So they're not going to let him stretch that much further at all. Again, maybe 70 pitches, but they're going to lean on the bullpen. So you're lucky that Devin Williams made quick of the 9th inning. You're lucky that Luke Weaver made really quick of the inning in the 3rd that he gave you. You didn't have to utilize a lot of the bullpen. They had most of the day off on Tuesday. That was key. Regardless, you're going to get a series win. The Yankees haven't done that a lot this year. The last series win was against Pittsburgh. So starting to turn things in the right direction, starting to be in the positive direction. They are currently, as we speak, in first place in the division. That is also key. So again, the importance of this Clarke Schmidt start, it's indescribable. There's too much. I think the win is important. Do you want to beat the Royals? Absolutely. What's more important to me is seeing how Schmidt pitches, making sure he's got good command out there, and making sure he stays in this game. Again, 70 pitches is probably going to be the range they leave him at, probably 4 innings. They're going to need help out of the bullpen, and they're facing an ace pitcher. Cards are stacked against them in this spot, but it's more about seeing how he pitches and building off of things because they're going to need him for absolute sure going forward. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. And for your second listen, make sure you check out the all-new MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long, you get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. That's available along with Locked On Yankees. Obviously, we appreciate you guys listening. We're over 8,600 subscribers at this point. We can't appreciate you guys' support enough. It's been tremendous. Again, Stacy will be back tomorrow. This was just a little bit of an IL stint for her, but she'll make sure she's back for the show tomorrow. That'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm your host for tonight, Brian McKeon, and we will catch you guys tomorrow.